Good evening. It is it's good to be back with you. And I'm going to say Happy New Year right away, even though this is February and did not get a chance to talk to you in January because we don't usually record a show in January because we're usually away. But I'm so happy to be back with you, and I have a wonderful guest with me today. The guest is somebody that's been here before, and you'll recognize her as soon as I give you her name, and that is Kathie McKenna. She was here 2 years ago in February of 2020, and she told us all about all the things that she's going to talk about today. And many of you probably don't have that information, so we're going to make sure that you have it now. Very important information. As I say before every show, please have something to write on because the information we're going to provide is something that you're going to need or you might want to share with others because it is so crucial that you have this information. It may be for your neighbors, may be for your family, it may be for yourself, but the information is so important. So the first thing I want to do is welcome Kathie to the show. Kathie, good
Ni-
evening and welcome to the show.
Nice to see you, Tom, and I can't thank you enough for having me back.
Well, I'm just lucky and fortunate enough to have you back. And I know when I called you, it was at somewhat short notice, but you said, look, I'm ready. And I know that people need to have this information. So first thing we're going to talk about, because Kathie is working with two different programs. And I want to let you know right up front which ones we're going to be talking about. First, we're going to be talking about Casa, and she's going to explain to you exactly what it is and the fact that we talk about the Pioneer Territory. And then we're going to talk about Nevada Outreach, which is so crucial to our community. But let's get into Casa. Kathie, tell us something about Casa and your position with Casa.
So, Tom, I've been with Casa now going on 4 years. I absolutely love it. Pioneer Territory Casa started with Miss Willie Bear, which everybody knows Miss Willie. She's very well known around town, and I stepped into her very large shoes. But CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And what we do is we train volunteers to be advocates for children in the foster care system. And what we are the voice of these children in the court system. So when a child is removed from a home due to physical abuse or neglect, they are removed actually by the Division of Child and Family Services here in Pahrump. And the Pahrump area here serves both the Esmeralda County and Nye County. And they also serve Lincoln County, but we don't see much actually out of Lincoln County. So when those children are removed from their homes, it is usually due, I hate to say, drugs or alcohol are normally involved. And it makes it extremely difficult. You can imagine being a young child and mom and dad are fighting and the police are called. And the child, somebody comes and says, I'm going to take you. It could be to a friend. It could be to a family member. Then again, it could be to a complete stranger. So I can't imagine being a 5 or a 6-year-old child and actually being removed from my home. And they don't understand that they haven't done anything wrong. A lot of times we see these children, they think they've done something wrong. And so last year in 2021, we actually served 95 children, which
Wow.
represents 59 set of siblings here in Nye and Esmeralda counties. 26 volunteers were actually utilized to serve those children. And those volunteers dedicated over 2,400, almost 2,500 hours to those children. And so that is our biggest need, is finding individuals in our community that would like to help with our children that are in our community, that have been abused and neglected, to represent those children. I get asked a lot of times, oh, I can't bring a child in my home, That is foster care, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, Tom. But this is just being a child's friend, it's very easy. You normally have to go through about 35 to 40 hours of training. We want you to know what you're doing before you get out there and start doing it. We have guest speakers that come in. Our DCFS manager comes and talks. Judge Lane, he comes and talks to our group. We have a foster mom that comes, a therapist. So we try to give our advocates a well-rounded education so they can feel comfortable with this. And then we also have what we call peer coordinators that work directly with our new volunteers to get them comfortable. They'll go with them to the house to visit with the child.
Kathie, before you go on, let's ask that question. You're talking about the advocates, and these are the people that actually work with the children. And you're still looking for advocates, is that correct?
Oh my gosh, yes. Right now, I have 33 children, which is 26 families, that do not have a Casa.
So with that, if you're watching this and it's something that you might be interested in, now she mentioned Nye County and Esmeralda County, but I know this show is also seen in Clark County. So you might want to also ask in Clark County, what could you do as well? We're talking about Nye County and Esmeralda County, but children need care no matter where they are. So if it's something you're interested in, whether you're in Clark County or Nye County, it's something you may want to call Kathie and say, what can I do if I live in Clark County? What can I do if I live in another county? And Kathie can answer those questions for you. But right now, if you want to volunteer for Nye or Esmeralda County, all you have to do is call Kathie, and she's waiting for your call right now. These are very, very special people, and she's talked about the training required and some of the requirements of exactly what your responsibilities would be. So Kathie, go ahead, tell us more.
Absolutely, we can always use volunteers. And if somebody's traveling through and happens to see the program and says, gosh, I live in White Pine, if you call me, I can always make sure that we get you in contact with the Casa that is located in that area in Nevada. Casas are needed all over the state. And so please, we have young people that have just graduated from high school. They have to be 21 that are working and would like to help with kids. I've got teachers, some retired, some not, that volunteer. We have lots of grandparents. When you're retired, as we all know, retirement sounds great, and then all of a sudden you have so much time on your hands that you don't know what to do. Trust me, I can help fill that retirement time. We would love to have you come by. We even have husband and wife teams. It's something that, especially when you retire, it's something to do together to actually help these children. And so we do have you go to court for the child. It's once every 6 months. And the judge wants to hear from the actual advocate. He knows that you are there for the child, that you have developed that relationship with the child. Because a lot of times a child will go from foster home to foster home for various reasons. We'll also have where the child's social worker will change. You know, somebody could be out on maternity leave or they go to a different county. But the person that's stable in this child's life is the advocate. It's the Casa volunteer that is there for that child. And so that judge wants to hear directly from the advocate what we feel we want best for our child. Maybe that child needs therapy services. That child could need dental services or medical services. Or maybe it needs an individualized education plan at school. Whatever that child needs, we make sure that the judge is aware of any order that he needs to make to actually help that child. And it might sound complicated, but if you've raised kids, it's just like raising another one, only this one you don't take to your home and feed and have to get it to school. You just get to be a friend to this child. And it's so much fun. If you can see a child's face light up when they see you come, their friend, once a month to visit them, and some people even go often, more often. We do ask that you spend 1 hour a month at least visiting the child. And 1 hour is just, as you know, Tom, that is just a small drop in the bucket in somebody's time. But it makes a huge difference for these children to actually have someone there. Right now we are serving 59 children, which represents 41 families. But as I said earlier, we still have 38 children that need a Casa, that need somebody out in this audience to say, hey, help out this child. Anything you can do is greatly appreciated.
You know, as we listen to Kathie and she talks about needing CASAs, we're talking to you specifically, and we're saying if it's something that you think you'd like to do, or you know someone that would like to do it. Now, Kathie's position is executive director for Pioneer Territory CASA, and remember what she said CASA stands for. When you look at that, you're the special advocate for a child, someone that is going to be the friend to that child. And exactly as Kathie said, when something happens in a child's life, the CASA is the one that the judge wants to hear from, because you have a relationship with this child. There may be some needs that this child will not share with anyone else but you. And then you can share that with the child's permission, of course, with the judge, and let the judge know this is what the child needs. Now, Kathie's going to be coming back in our next session, so come back and join us. Welcome back. Again, we're so glad to have you back with us. And I have the executive director of Pioneer Territory CASA, and she's giving us a lot of information. I hope that you've taken down some information. You've taken down her number, you've taken down her name, and if you have any questions about what CASA is all about, she's the one that can answer those questions. We gave a lot of information in the last session, and we're going to give a lot more. But one of the things that we want is for you to contact Kathie and say, look, I'm interested in becoming a CASA, or I'd like to have more information about CASA, or I have a friend or a relative or a neighbor, someone in my church that would be perfect in this position. Those are the people we want you to provide that information to and make sure they contact Kathie. Now, Kathie, there's so much more to CASA, and we want to hear more from you.
So I will have to say, Tom, as you said, it's been 2 years since I've been here. It was February of 2020 when I was here before, and that was right before COVID was announced.
Yes.
And I will tell you, COVID has hit the community hard when it comes to CASA in a variety of ways. Number one, it made it very limited for us to be able to see the children, so a lot of people had to get creative. They did Zoom calls, or they would stand outside the door and bring presents and balloons and do whatever they could to cheer up the kids, because not only are these children now away from their family, but you know, in the beginning they weren't going to school, so they weren't seeing their friends, and it was extremely difficult. And so that in itself has been complicated by COVID, as well as us retaining volunteers. We saw quite a few volunteers that have moved away due to COVID to be closer to family. We've had some elder people concerned about their health that have retired. So if you are interested, you can go to our website, which is www.ptcasanv.org, and under volunteers, you can actually choose to look at an application, and you can fill it out, and we can get back in touch with you. Another way you can, you know, a lot of people say, well, I don't have the time. What else can I do? On there, you can look under donate. And this is money you don't even have to spend out of your pocket. You can actually list Pioneer Territory CASA as your under Amazon Smile. They will give us a percentage of anything that you buy, as well as from Smith's. Kroger has a program too. And so if you can't volunteer maybe your time, maybe you can look at signing those up. Normally we have two big fundraisers. We have the Crab Fest in February, and we have the Luau in September. And I'm sad to say that over the last 2 years, we've not had any fundraising events because of COVID. So normally where we would see a third of our revenue come from donations and from fundraisers, we have not seen that over the last few years. I will say that our Crab Fest was canceled again this year, sadly due to the new Omicron virus that is surging through right now, and we didn't want to expose 200 people and have the community upset. So we are going to be doing a Hawaii vacation raffle. So you can actually get a raffle ticket and hopefully win. We're only going to sell 200 tickets at $100 a piece, and you'll get $1,500 to help pay for airfare, as well as a week's vacation in Hawaii, actually on the island of Kauai, that you can use over the year 2022 or 2023. So it's very flexible. But that kind of helps us maybe make up for the last 2 years of not having any donations or any fundraisers. I promise we are going to bring back both fundraisers, because I have people that call constantly asking, when's Crab Fest? When's Crab Fest? So hopefully February of 2023 we will have Crab Fest, and we're hoping to have the luau later this year. But another place too that that folks can help, and I know that I jokingly said, in the beginning, no, you don't take the kids to your home when you're a Casa. We do need foster homes in our community. Right now, we are almost at max limit. There are a lot of children that, if you figure between, we've got over 100 children right now that are in foster care. And when we run out of space for these children, we end up having to take them to Las Vegas. And not to say that anything's wrong with Las Vegas, but when you've already been removed from your home and now you've got to go to a different school, you don't have your friends, your family's not close by, it's really hard on a child. And so most Casas like to see their children where they're in the community in which they were living, so they can still have some normalcy to their life. And so if people can do that extra step and be foster parents, you can contact the local DCFS office here and tell them, hey, I'm interested. Better yet, you can call me. And you can call me at 775-505-2272. The 775-505, after that is Casa. So it's kind of an easy number to remember. And give us a call and we can talk about both being a foster or an advocate. But they are greatly needed, Tom, in our communities. We just don't have enough homes to take these children in.
About how many children, when we talk about that, are looking for a home, say, in foster care? And about how many homes do you have?
So most fosters will take in more than one set of siblings. We've got one family that has 6 kids, another will have 4 or 5. So I don't have the exact number of homes that we have here, but we've got right at 100 children in foster homes right now. And I know I spent last weekend helping to train our new foster families across the state of Nevada about what Casas are and how we help work with the foster families and work with the children. And they were very receptive and very excited to hear, because it is sometimes a little daunting to bring a strange child or children in your home. And we always remind them, you're not alone and we're all here to help. So some of our children need higher level care homes too. So it takes extra training to be a foster with a higher level care to be able to take these children that need higher level of care. But CASAs are here to help the fosters as well. We want to make it as easy as possible. A lot of times they'll call us and say, hey, I can't transport my kid today to therapy. We'll round up a foster to help, or a CASA to go help that foster family actually get the child to therapy. So it's like a community raising a child, Tom. And that's the way we are here in Pahrump. Most of our children are from Pahrump. We do see a few from Tonopah and Beatty or Gabbs, but for the most part, most of our children are from Pahrump.
And we want to make sure that we take care of those kids.
Absolutely.
And the only way to take care of those kids is to have people sign up for Casa. And if they're interested in being foster parents, they can also call you for that.
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure that you're looking and you're thinking about this and remembering the fact that what we really want to do is take care of the kids. And that's what it's all about. So if you're interested in this program at all, just listen to what Kathie is saying. And you can hear it in her voice how passionate she is about this. This is something that she stepped up to be the executive director of. And like she said, filling big shoes of Willie Bear. Everybody knows Willie, and they know how she created, I say created the program here to make it what it is today. And when she knew she was going to step down, she looked around to see who could do it, and Kathie stepped up, and Kathie's doing a fantastic job. As she stated, 2 years ago we had her on the program, and yeah, that was just before COVID hit us really, really hard. And she's gotten us through that stage. So now we're coming out on the other side. Let's hope that COVID will go away so we can do so much more for our kids. So Kathie, tell us more about Casa and what's going on in that area.
So I have to say at Christmas time, it was a very rewarding time. We actually reach out to the foster parents and we ask those foster parents to ask the kids, what would you like? What are 2 gifts you want for Christmas? And we have partnered with an angel here in the community, and they, for the last 3 years, have actually bought all of our foster children the 2 gifts that they requested. I've seen Barbie doll houses, the really big ones, and one child said, I'd like a bike and a skateboard. He got both. So it's amazing to see when the community steps up to make sure that these children don't feel that they've been forgotten. A lot of times their parents are not visiting them. They are struggling with addictions. And so it's hard for those children when they're not seeing their parents. And so to see the community rally around and get these kids the gifts that they're wanting for Christmas, they don't feel forgotten. They do feel that love, and they do feel the community support. Sadly, due to COVID, we've not been able to have a Christmas party for the kids, but all the Casas delivered the gifts to their children. We also worked with DCFS for those kids that do not have a Casa. They also got gifts. Every child got a gift, regardless if they had a Casa or not. I spent Christmas Eve running around like a crazy person delivering bikes and presents and basketball hoops and basketballs. And I'm definitely not complaining, Tom. It made me feel very good to see how the community rallies around. And our angel that does this for us every year, we just couldn't do it without them.
This is just fantastic. Just to hear so much about it, knowing that the CASA program is alive and well, and that Kathie is leading out to make sure it stays that way. It stays that way to take care of our kids and make sure that they have someone that's willing to be their friend and speak for them, regardless of the situation that they're going through. Now come back and join us in our next session because we're going to be talking about Nevada outreach. Welcome back once again. And we have Kathie McKenna still with us. She's also the executive director of Nevada Outreach. And we want to talk about that organization and the things that they do for our community. I know I recommend many times when I get calls about different veterans or non-veterans that need anything, I usually refer them over to Kathie because I know she's doing an outreach program for our community that's second to none. And for that reason, Nevada Outreach is the place that I'm going to recommend everybody at least contact, know something about it, and that's why I'm asking you to be sure to write down her contact numbers and be sure that you know what Nevada Outreach is all about. What can you do? How can you help? And what can they do for people who need help? So Kathie, again, I'm so glad to have you on the show this evening, and tell us something about Nevada Outreach.
Well, thank you, Tom, for all those nice words. So a lot of people know Nevada Outreach as No to Abuse. And it's the No to Abuse started at the very beginning with Nevada Outreach. And it was a domestic violence program. And we still have our domestic violence sexual assault program there. Sadly, we see about 600 cases per year, Tom. That's a lot of folks here in this community that are experiencing domestic violence and sexual assault. We do have certified advocates on staff. They go out in the middle of the night to actually help law enforcement when there is a domestic violence dispute. We make sure that they are safe and in a shelter, an emergency shelter. We also, depending on their situation, will help them get resettled into a new home. Sometimes we actually relocate. COVID was very difficult on the domestic violence. We did see an increase, and I think it was just a matter that more people were at home and sadly getting on each other's nerves and not dealing well with it. And so we do have several advocates on staff. They do go to court with our clients. We help them with paperwork. We have a support group. So if you are experiencing domestic violence, please give us a call and let us know how we can help. They have taken them as well to the forensic interviews. So that is what we're there for. That is a very large program. Our other large program is the Family Resource Center. And that is where we help both veterans and non-veterans, as Tom mentioned. COVID has been very difficult on everyone with retaining jobs. We've seen the housing market. We've seen some housing rental prices go up almost 100%, and people can't afford it. They're behind the 8 ball on trying to pay, making that decision. Do I pay for rent? Do I pay for food? Do I pay for utilities? And sadly, just having to make that choice and not having one of those things in, unpaid could cause a family to actually lose their children to DCFS and end up in foster care. So what Nevada Outreach does is it helps with helping families get back on their feet. We look at the family as a whole. We don't try to place a Band-Aid on a broken arm, so we do an intake process to see where all a family needs and can use help. And then that's where we start, whether it's helping with rental assistance, utility assistance, whether they need appliances, furniture. We've got kids sleeping on floors, so being able to have furniture and mattresses for children. Some children don't have enough clothing. And we're also there for the community when there is sadly a fire. And as we've seen this winter, I think I've seen more fires here, Tom, than we have seen in the last several years. So we've had several fire victims come to be able to replace the things that they've lost in the fire. That program also, we truly could use volunteers there as well. The court system does send us over individuals that need community service to help us with volunteers. And some of them end up liking it so much that they stick around afterwards. But we always can use people because we do receive a lot of donations because people are generous like you, Tom, that tell people, hey, take that stuff over to Nevada Outreach. And so just dropping that off is great, but then we have to actually touch it and sort it and get it to where people are able to look through it and actually get those items. We do a lot with housing. Section 8 recently opened, which allowed a lot of folks to get signed up for it. But the Family Resource Center touches a lot of people in our community. We also have the Children's Advocacy Center. That is where children who have been physically and or sexually abused come to have a forensic interview. And a forensic interview to me sounds a little daunting and a little harsh, but actually it's just talking with the child to try to determine what has or has not happened to that child. We do work with a multidisciplinary team here in Nye County that is comprised of the Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney's Office, DCFS, and of course Nevada Outreach for advocacy. And we work together for the benefit of that child and that family. Sadly, a lot of times we see that it's family members that have abused the child, but a lot of times it can be friends of the families or even strangers. So we do our best to help those children and help those families make sure those children get therapy, medical treatment if needed as well. Those are our three probably largest activities that we have, Tom. We also work closely with DCFS when it comes to supervised visitation, whether it is through DCFS or if it's court ordered, so that children who are removed from the home or parents who are divorcing and one parent only is allowed supervised visitation, we do offer those services at our office. And all of our services, I will remind you, Tom, is at no cost. No one pays for our services. I spend a lot of my time writing grants. That is usually my 10-month-year project that I write grants to be able to pay for not only the staff to help our community members, but also to pay for direct client services so we can help the people with the items that they need. But the differential response folks will work with people that say, hey, can you work with these folks so DCFS doesn't take those children away? So it's usually environmental neglect, so maybe houses that need to be cleaned. It can also be educational neglect. COVID has put people in a strange light where we're finding children are not going to school. And as we all know, education to our children is key. I keep thinking when I get old, I need these young ones to be able to take care of me and the rest that are my age. So it's important to us that we get our children educated. We also do parenting classes and co-parenting classes and anger management classes. A lot of times those are court ordered or through DCFS, and a lot of times somebody knows that they've got an issue, or we've got a young parent who has unexpectedly become pregnant and doesn't know how to be a parent. You know, sadly these kids don't come with an instruction manual, and you know, sometimes I was told, you know, it's funny, you have to have a license to go fishing but not a license to have kids, and so we don't go through any training, and it is difficult to raise kids. So we have a lot of different programs that we utilize. Have an elder abuse program. We have individuals who have either they're financially abused or they're physically abused. A lot of times, sadly, it's family members that are abusing. So we help those elders get out of that situation to see what we need to do, whether it's relocate them to a different location where they can be close with other family members, or maybe it is finding them a new place to live, whether it is in a group home, in a home on their own, or sometimes it's into a nursing facility because they're not able to take care of themselves. So we have and we'll have a lot of folks that come in asking for a refrigerator, and the next minute we know there is abuse in the home. So we don't we make sure that we, as I said, we don't put a Band-Aid on a broken arm. We truly try to do a comprehensive intake to be able to see what we need to do to help these folks.
You know, it is so important just listening to all the things that Kathie is saying. And I hope you're paying very close attention to that. One of the big things that she said, and she's emphasized it, is this is at no cost. And I'm just going to add to that something that she hasn't said is we don't know what your problems are. We don't know what you're going through. But if you contact Kathie and say, look, this is my situation, this is my problem. If it's something that Nevada Outreach cannot take care of, at least she can refer you to the proper agency. So you're getting information just by contacting Kathie. Nevada Outreach, for me, whenever I run into somebody, and I run into a lot of people in the communities, and they ask questions about what about this or what about that, whether it's a place to live or a bill that needs to be paid, I usually refer them to Nevada Outreach. Not that Nevada Outreach is going to pay the bill for them, and sometimes they will, but sometimes they can't, but they will refer them to another agency that can. So I'm going to say over and over, if you have a situation and you're running into a brick wall, you don't know where to go, contact Kathie, and at least she can give you some guidance on maybe what to do or how to do it, how to take care of yourself and your family, and especially the children. Now, for this session, we've given a lot of information on Nevada Outreach. I'm going to ask you to come back for our final session because we're going to continue to give information about Nevada Outreach, a lot of other things that they do, how Kathie got involved in it. We understand how she got involved with Casa, but we never asked her how she got involved with Nevada Outreach. So that's a question we're going to ask in the next session, and we want you to come back and join us, and be sure to write down all of this information. We'll be looking for you. Welcome back for our final session. I always hate to say that because I hate for the show to end. This is so much information, and to have Kathie McKenna, Executive Director of Nevada Outreach and for Pioneer Territory Casa, but we're talking this final session about Nevada Outreach. We've given so much information about it already, but we want you to have everything that you need to know. Now, in our first two sessions, we talked about Casa, and we understand how Kathie got involved with Casa. She followed Willie Bear and filled those big shoes. But how does she get involved with Nevada Outreach? And Nevada Outreach is really an outreach, and she's doing so much with it. So Kathie, tell us how you got involved with Nevada Outreach.
Well, I had a call from one of the board members that asked me if I would leave Casa, and I hadn't been at Casa for more than 6 months, if I would leave Casa and go to Nevada Outreach. And I said, you know, I was an advocate before I was the executive director at Casa. I said, you know, I've just got this special place in my heart to help kids. I just can't leave. And it took them 1.5 years to find somebody. I said, Willie will actually probably hunt me down and get me if I switch. So I ended up, they said, well, you know, it's a part-time job. Could you just do both? And foolish me, knowing the board members and liking them, and they were my friends, I said, sure, if it's a part-time job, not a big deal. Well, I will tell you that Nevada Outreach alone is probably a 60-hour-a-week job. I did call them my friends. I'm not sure I still do, but I am still here about 3.5 years later.
Okay.
And I do remind them every once in a while that they told me that it was part-time. But I will tell you one of the things that I found, Tom, that has worked out very nicely is how the two organizations can also benefit one another. I didn't realize it until I actually started working with Nevada Outreach, but you know, they do make sure they work with DCFS to make sure that children are not removed from the home that end up in foster care that we would see in Casa, which is absolutely awesome. We have a lot of foster care families who get a child in the middle of the night with no food, you know, infants with no formula, no diapers, no clothing. they know now to go over to Nevada Outreach, and we will get them formula, we will get them diapers, we will get them clothing to get that baby taken care of that is now in foster care. The children that, a lot of the foster children that have been removed from the home have also required a forensic interview through the Nye County Children's Advocacy Center. So there's a lot more interweaving between the two, and I think we actually do a better job of serving our clients and the community with the two organizations so closely married together. I think it's been a very beneficial situation. So I'm very pleased. I will say I did leave off, we do have another program that really helps all the community, and that's HealthLink. That actually helps those who are either uninsured or underinsured. And with COVID, with people losing their jobs, we have seen a lot of people losing their insurance. And what we can also do is sometimes we find that the state will pay part or all of their insurance costs depending on the income bracket they're in.
And what is that called again, Kathie?
That is called HealthLink.
Okay.
And so we have a young lady, her name is Holly, that actually goes to various community events to try to get the word out that if you don't have insurance, or if you're underinsured and you need a higher level insurance, she will go through your insurance and help you out and see what we can do to help benefit you. So a lot of our programs do interweave between. We do also have AmeriCorps community health workers that work with us, that work in our programs, and that is also done through the Nye Community Coalition. As you mentioned, Tom, we do have a lot of resources, and we do connect our people to transportation and workforce development. For the homeless, we make sure that they have laundry vouchers and shower vouchers. We try to help them if they want to get into housing or to get into a shelter. That is one thing. Pahrump is getting to the size that I think shelter may need to be looked at in the future to be able to help our homeless population. And so with COVID, I will tell you that just like Casa, we've been hit hard in our fundraising department and donations. Fundraising, we've just not been able to do any fundraising events since COVID started. Like Casa, you can go to the Nevada Outreach website, which is www.nevadaoutreach.org, and under donations, not only can you donate, but you can also do the Amazon Smile and the Smith's donations there. And that, as I said, it doesn't cost any money out of your pocket. It's just both of those organizations will pay a small percentage of what you buy. They donate to Nevada Outreach, and the same's done on Casa. So you can choose your organization. I'm happy with either one that you choose to be able to help out Nevada Outreach. And as I said, this way it doesn't come out of your pocket.
Could you repeat those programs one more time?
Yes, it is Amazon Smile, and it is the Smith's Donations. And if you go to our website under donations, we have a nice, easy click here, and we will take you right in so you can sign up. You do have to have an Amazon Smile account, and you do have to have a Smith's, which I think most people nowadays probably have both. And then that way, a small percentage of what you buy will go to those organizations. And it doesn't seem like much, but $50 here and $50 there make a huge difference, especially when we have grants that a lot of times won't pay for some specific items that is truly in need. I will tell you that the CDC, we did receive a fairly large grant from the CDC to try to help individuals that are suffering due to COVID. And Tom, I don't know about you, but I don't know many people who haven't been affected by COVID.
No.
I think we can all say in some manner or another we've all been affected, whether we've been sick or our family members or jobs that have been lost or hours that have cut back. So please reach out if you do have problems paying your bills, If we can't help you, we know we can get you resources to hopefully do so. Housing has become a problem in our area. We've got more people than we do houses, and the housing dollars are going up, and we understand that. So hopefully we can help you if this is a situation that you're in. But it is a struggle right now, Tom. I'm sure you've heard that as well.
Absolutely. You know, I also, just for the location, when we talk about Nevada Outreach, tell us where it's located so people can find it. I know you gave the phone number, and calling is so much easier. But some people just say, well, I'd like to know where you're located.
Absolutely. 621 South Blag, and we're between the 372 and Blag Roundabout and Wilson Road, right next to AB Roofing, and we have a church directly across the street. So it's a very easy location to find. We are open from 8:30 to 4, Monday through Friday. There are a few holidays where we do take off. I do let the staff off every once in a while. Sometimes I think they think they're chained there, but they're not. We have wonderful individuals that work there. I can't take the credit, Tom. It's truthfully the employees that work there, the dedication that everyone gives to the program that they serve. They work at helping one another when, somebody's out sick or on vacation. But they are the ones that directly work with our clients to make sure that they can help increase their quality of life.
And that is so, it's fantastic. Now, they also have programs for veterans. Kathie takes care of veterans for us, and there are times when if there's something that they can't do, they've already vetted the veteran to know that that person is a veteran, and they may contact the DAV, the VFW, American Legion, and find out other things for this veteran. So again, they are Nevada Outreach, and they outreach and reach so far and take care of so many people and so many concerns. So it's very important that you contact Kathie, and like I said, if you have any questions or concerns, she can put you on the right track to know exactly where to go. So whether you're a veteran or non-veteran, Nevada Outreach is there for you. And Kathie, I really appreciate just being able to work with her, and I learned so much from her, because there are times when we look at not only veterans but non-veterans as well, our church members that may have a need, and I contact Kathie and say, it's something that Nevada Outreach can take care of, and 9 times out of 10 she says yes.
Well, it's greatly appreciated, Tom, that you make sure that you refer people. And a lot of people, especially veterans, we find, they're like, well, I don't want to take money. They're very proud. And, we contribute to society, and everyone has low moments, and everybody has a trip and sometimes a fall, and everybody needs help at some point in time. And so we don't look at it as a hand out. We look at it as a hand up. We are trying to help those individuals in our community get to a better spot. And COVID has really done a number on a lot of our community members. And so we've done everything we possibly can, whether it's housing, whether it's clothing, whether it's food, shelter, gas, electric bills, whatever it takes. We do what is needed to be able to help those individuals in our community. But you have to contact us. You have to come.
I am so glad to have Kathie on this evening, and she's provided so much information. I just hope that you've written down the contact information. She's given you websites, she's given you phone numbers, and that way you can make sure that if there's a need of any kind, contact Kathie and find out what Nevada Outreach is all about, what Casa is all about, how you can participate and be so important to our community and our children. That's the reason we're all here. But I want to thank Kathie for being here tonight, and I thank you for watching the show. And we'll see you next time. Take care.